Any discussion from the floor? Okay.
My name's Ryan Zinn. I'm at 458 Manor Drive, representing the Citizens Committee here tonight. I just had a couple of items that I would like to add to the agenda if we could. We can discuss them whenever you'd like. I'd like to open up some discussion on the Cemstone development, which I think you guys are talking about in a private session later. And I'd also like to make a request of the City Council in terms of asking you to make a motion on a particular data release. And I have a couple of questions about the expenditures for this year and in regards to the special levy and bond payments that were made of the last year that I'd like some clarification on.
Should we save it for last? Let's get through everything else first.
Jeff, would you like to comment on the Cemstone development?
Well, the subject is scheduled for closed session, so there is not likely to be any discussion about it other than a summary of what takes place in the closed session at the end of the closed session.
Okay.
So that
So there's no, is there any, I'm sorry, I don't mean to speak over you.
yeah. So that's there is no other topic for that, or no occasion to talk about it before that, for sure.
I'm just, my only reason to speak on it is that there was an article published in the paper regarding discussion and council member comments regarding the property on February 4th. So public comment has been made by the council, and I thought that maybe there'd be an opportunity for citizens to make a comment regarding that as well.
Well, whether, the place we are now on the agenda, the discussion, is a place for comment from the public, for sure. So if you have some comment, you're certainly
Okay.
able to do that. It would be, though, improper for the council then to take the subject and start dealing with it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay, that's okay too. So, I don't know if you would like me to just make my comments now, or
If you
Probably should be made during public comment. There's no, typically, when the public comes up and comments, there is not typically any action taken by the council.
Okay. Well, I guess I can just address the three things that I would like to speak on for a minute in terms of citizens here. In terms of the Cemstone property, I'm getting conflicting messages personally after reading the article in the paper with Barbara Carlson's comments towards the city needing more green space or would like more green space. Blaine City Council specifically says that the property has high commercial value and would be a very valuable asset to the city to develop commercially. Administrator Nelson had mentioned that point as well, saying, apartments would be nice if we could get some sort of dual commercial and residential zoning. But then if we're a city that's got, I believe Administrator Nelson had mentioned that we're running about 18% non-taxable land value, which runs, I believe she mentioned that it was about $800,000 in lost property revenue or tax revenue. To turn that space into green space when it's appropriate for commercial seems to me in my mind to be foolish. So I guess I would just speak on behalf of, allowing that space to be used commercially. So
I would just like to make a comment. I guess I haven't read that article, but that was not said at that meeting. It was probably said at another meeting, and those workshops are open to the public, and you're more than welcome to attend.
According
And by
to the
green
article-
space, I meant, you had mentioned, somebody had mentioned that Barbara likes the green space, and I think that's how it came up. The only green space I would ask is that they put some green trees, green bushes around the building that's already there.
Okay. Well, I guess you guys could take that up with Tim.
Yeah,
So-
it was never the intent of the council to turn that entire lot into green
No.
space. Never an option.
Okay. My other question regarding the budget numbers that we received, I guess now that I've had a chance to look through some of the information that we were provided with by the city, looking at the data, it shows that a large amount of the revenue increase, or its spending was going down 1.66%, but we paid off $250,000 worth of bonds, and we paid off over $300,000 worth of a special levy. But that amount of taxable revenue was made back up in property taxes. So even though we paid off capital expenditures like bonds and special levies, we've now seen an increase in the amount of revenue that you're collecting personally from the taxpayers through the tax base, even though the amount of spending had gone down. So to say that we had a 1.66% spending decrease, I mean, we had a larger spending decrease than that, but you've increased the revenue on the personal property of the citizens, to cover. So it basically looks like you're reducing at 1.66% when we should have been deserving of a 20% decrease based on the fact that we paid off special levies and we paid off bonds. It would be the equivalent, I guess, of saying that if we're the citizens, and let's say we're the wives and we're paying the husband to make sure he's making a car payment, we've been paying you guys to pay these special levies and these bonds down, and then you've decided that even though the car payment's done, you're going to continue to collect the money and then use it for something else without ever really disclosing honestly what that money is being used for. So you can see it on the charts in the newspaper article and in the handout you guys handed out, the blue charts, where it shows the revenue from the, I can look at it here, the revenue from the city, thanks, here it is. Property taxes go up an increase of $498,000. The bonds went down the bonds went down $237,000, and the special levy of $318,000 was removed completely. So that's a reduction in bonds and special levies to the tune of $555,000, and a property tax increase to the tune of $498,000. So, I mean, that's basically increasing $1 million worth of money that's not assigned to any capital projects. I mean, if you can tell me that I'm misinterpreting the fact that the property revenue goes up and the fact that the tax levy goes up, but the bond and the other items, the bond issues go down and the special levy is completely gone? I mean, is that not what that's explaining?
It's not that simple, Ryan, and I'd be happy any time to sit down with you and go over the budget with you. We did have a almost 8% reduction in spending from last year to this year, and that is fully disclosed. But there are many other things that you have to look at in the budget. And you're throwing out numbers. I can't respond to them without seeing them.
I think the important part of talking about that stuff at a public forum is that other people get to hear about it, because I can talk to you one-on-one, and that placates me, or that satisfies maybe my questions. But there's other people that are coming up to me after I spoke the last time, asking me questions, to ask you questions, so that more people know about what's going on. Mm-hmm. So I think...
well, you're more than welcome to come to the budget meetings. We've made the budget available to you, the audit available to you.
And that's...
it's a matter of how you interpret the numbers.
Right, that's how any accounting is, right? I think that my final question is a request to the council. I'd like to read an email that I received from Administrator Nelson. And you guys can discuss this or whatever you'd like to do. I believe I can tell you who else was on this. Cindy, you've received all these emails regarding data requests. I haven't heard any response from you on these. Dale Dahl has also received this. Jeannie Mason has received this as well. And Marion, you were on the last email regarding this. So I, at the last meeting, had requested that I be provided with, or the citizens be provided with, information regarding the last 5 years of the expenditures and income for the city. And I think in a good sense and in a sign of, good faith that the city is doing what it should be doing with the money, this shouldn't really be an issue. And what I've been told is that if I would like the last 5 years of the city's revenue and expenses, of the city's list of employees on staff, and of the expenses and income of the recreation department, I'm expected to produce $436 plus copy expenses to the city for that information. So I've received an email, and then I've received other information about how I need to be more clear about what I'm asking for, that things are outside of the scope of a data request, which I'm not sure how things can be outside of the scope of a data request. We can expand it to that.
In that particular question, you were asking me how the budget maps to the audit. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you that they are two different documents, apples to oranges.
Yep, I understand that.
And to explain how that all works to you is not a data request.
Right, but we can't figure out if we're given a 2012 budget and then being forced to pay to play to basically see the numbers that the city's actually spending. The Public Utility Fund is a great example. We don't know that you guys are losing money on something until after it's already happened. There's no way for us to see the numbers unless we're paying you for the numbers.
You can come in and look at any of the numbers at any time for free.
Great.
But if you want us to gather information in blocks of 5 years, that takes staff time to do, and it takes copy time, and it takes preparation time, and you have to pay for that. But you can come in and look at any particular year at any given time, and that's the law.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay, and Ryan, your time allotment has expired.
Can I make... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to thank you for coming. Do you have one other closing comment?
Yeah, I just have one. I'll keep this very brief. So the last email, the email that I wanted to read was that Barbara Nelson telling me that she doesn't recall that the city commissioned a study in 2012 to review recreation finances because that would not be a correct statement. We did not commission a study or pay anyone to perform a study, so there is no report or documents. Each year at budget meetings, we review each department's expenses and revenues, and the only thing I can think of is that Dale would be referring to our verbal review of the department's finances. So
that's in response to a comment made by a citizen and Mr. Ryan in email asking for a copy of a study we commissioned to review the park and rec expenditures, and Marion told the resident verbally, and I responded in email that no such study was commissioned. There is no copy to produce.
When Councilmember Loesch was on the council, we actually asked you to, figure out what the numbers were, on your department, Marion, and you actually did sit down and go with us for the numbers, whether you've saved any of that stuff or whether it was just is beyond us. But I did call Bill, and it wasn't in 2010. I mean, it was way back. So we actually did talk about Park and Rec and their budget.
But it was no study that we paid for to have done.
Well,
we did it internally.
It's not the right wording. It should have just been just to go over, That's all it was.
So, and I'll be done talking after this if you will humor me for 30 more seconds. What I would like to ask is it would be, I would really appreciate it, and I think the other citizens in the city would appreciate it, if the city council could make a motion or could enact some sort of direction to ask that the last 5 years of finances be released. We're talking about a $500 expense on a single citizen or on a small group of citizens versus the council using their authority to ask that documentation be released. So I would appreciate if you could consider that, and thank you for letting me go over my time.
Thank you.
So, thanks.
Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to discourage you from doing that because there is no limit to the amount of requests that can come in from any one citizen or all citizens. You'd be setting a dangerous precedent that could keep staff occupied for hours and hours and hours, untold hours. It's not happened here in the past, but I can tell you that it's happening in a couple of other cities right now north of us where a citizen or group of citizens has been keeping staffs busy on a biweekly basis with numerous requests for data. So the law allows us to charge for the time that we spend gathering particular information, putting it in written form, and providing it. If the citizen wants to come in, we can bring all those ledgers out and they can study them for as long as they'd like.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have the consent agenda. And that includes to approve application for exempt permit for raffle, budget to date,